The Safe State Gamer Show, Episode 5. Welcome to the commentary. This is the Fallout 3 episode, or Fallout 3 1 Part 3, as this scandal and review will teach you. I just rewatched this before I did the commentary, and I'm in a strange position as I have a lot of things I'd like to point out, and yet I'm not sure I'll have enough to say. So let's see how this turns out. I do want to point out this moment here where he's explaining the concept of Save State Neo without really understanding what it is. I like it. I really don't think I'm a very good actor. Flat out, that is fact. But there are these moments, like this one here, where he draws it out, and this is accidental good acting. I really don't know how I pulled this off, but I genuinely like it. And that look to the camera at the end wasn't deliberately inspired by, at least not consciously inspired by it, but later on I realized that's exactly where I got it. It was from the Christmas special of The Office, the UK version, the original version, where at the very end he's waiting for his blind date to show up, and there's a large woman who approaches him, and he's so relieved by the fact that she's not his blind date that he says something very cruel to her, and he feels very bad, and then of course remembers that he's on camera, and he sort of stares down the barrel of the camera, realizing that there's no escape from what he's just said being immortalized. And it's a brilliant, excellent moment in The Office, and of course this doesn't even begin to compare, but that's certainly where I got that sort of approach. Very oblique reference in the opening credits there. You'll notice one of the misspellings was that it was Safe State Neo staring Chris Bohers instead of starring, and that's actually a very esoteric reference to the Venture Brothers. I believe it's the first episode of Season 2 they accidentally used that same typo. In their case, it was not deliberate, but it was deliberate in my case because I wanted to pay homage to the Venture Brothers. I don't know why I would decide to pay homage to something they did incorrectly and are probably very embarrassed about, but hey, there you go. And of course another Tim and Eric reference in the choice of theme song for Save State Neo, which was a song called Sports with an exclamation point. Love Tim and Eric. There's a later reference and a few other references I want to point out during the course of this review. This moment here with the box art and the silly illustrations, well, you know, it's kind of treading water. It's nothing particularly exciting. The one thing that I don't like is that just due to a quirk of the box art here, where I draw the question marks and then the penis, it looks like I'm drawing. I think it looks like I'm making it look like that character is confused and he has an erect penis, when really I didn't. It was just I would have drawn that anyway, and it just so happened to have a character situated on the box that it looked like he was doing that deliberately, drawing a penis on the man. Why am I bothering to explain this? I don't know. I was actually very fond of this observation here. Chris Bohrs does this a lot, where he will show himself on camera and then narrate himself just being on camera holding up a box. He can just do that while he's holding the box. I don't know why he would have to narrate after the fact. Spooky Chasers, first reference to that as far as I can tell. Really difficult to parody Haunted Investigators in terms of thinking up a funny title, because how do you think up a funnier title than Haunted Investigators? It's already an unintentional joke. The only thing that you can really do as a parodist is come up with something that's really stupid. But even that's not as funny as the real thing, because people know that the parodist isn't taking himself seriously. I did want to parody at some point an actual episode of the Haunted Investigators, and I kind of did in the Commander Keen review. You'll see how I got around that. But I couldn't actually just do it on camera, and the reason for that is that Irritated Gamer already did a Haunted Investigators parody, where he just did the actual format of that show, and in about a minute and a half, he did not only every conceivable joke that you could do for the Haunted Investigators, but he did them perfectly. So the fact that Irritated Gamer is so good at what he does, or was, I guess he's not doing it anymore, really kind of put a crimp in my plans. I did intend to parody, at least in some way, all of Bohrs' little video series. Obviously, here's Irate Gamer Neo. There's the history of video games. I also, at one point, was going to have a Save State No Date Gamer road trip video, which really would have been good. It was scripted. It was ready to go. No Date Gamer was totally willing to do it. He was going to animate it for me in the style of No Date Gamer / Morshu Shao, and I think it was going to be at the end of the Portal review. And as you'll see, Portal review at the time was exactly as long as the YouTube time limit, so we didn't get to do it. I was going to do it in the following episode, and then we obviously never had a following episode. I also intended at some point to do a short video called I Love the Save Staties. You know, Boris' little look back at the 80s and things like that. But the title would have been the cleverest thing, I'm absolutely sure. You probably... That little insert of the trailer that just passed, the actual trailer for Fallout 3, I intentionally drew attention to the fact that it was a trailer because I used it later on during the gaming montage where it's supposed to look like Crisbo was actually playing the game, and I wanted people to know, oh, sequel sounds and shapes, that's a reference to The League of Gentlemen, colors, sounds, and shapes, being confused by that, Tubbs and Edward. But what was I saying? Oh yeah, the trailer, I wanted the trailer, when you see him playing later, I wanted it to be immediately obvious that he wasn't playing the game, and so I showed the trailer earlier and pointed out that's what it was for people who maybe hadn't seen it or weren't familiar with that particular snatch of footage. And I don't think it was that successful. It's really hard to do an unconvincing gameplay montage because they actually look pretty good, usually no matter what you do, even if you burgle footage. Pronouncing Mega Man correctly. I think the only time it wasn't till later on that I wanted him to pronounce it like somebody's last name and call him Mega Man. After I did that, I was pretty consistent, I think. But because I didn't really think about it beforehand, we have the situation where it's the consistency is kind of screwed. I think Game Boob right now, he has a similar thing going on where he calls Mario Marlin every time. I think so far he's been 100% consistent. Great for him. But he has to make sure now he's painted himself into that, potentially painted himself into that corner where he always has to make sure that he refers to Mario as Marlin. Otherwise people pick up on that, and he may not care, and he shouldn't, but I care. A little too much. Yeah, let's see. Was there anything else I wanted to point out here? Oh, the Jennifer thing! Yeah, absolutely. That's something important. Somebody named Ciega Obsession, I think I'm pronouncing that right. Actually, no, I don't think I'm pronouncing that right, but whatever. He left a comment on one of the previous commentary videos saying that I indicated that I had no malice against Chris Bores, but the jokes about Jennifer, this commenter felt, were a little personal. They were a little out of line as far as personal attacks on Bores. And I'm really glad he asked that question, because that's something that I wanted to point out. My sort of unofficial... This is a lot of Tim and Eric exaggerated posturing. But as my unofficial way to go about it was that I would not make any jokes about Chris that I wouldn't be able to take in return. I think some parodists, they'll remain nameless because they can still be funny, they're still talented people, but I think sometimes people go a little bit too far and they say things that are, I think, just out of line hurtful and not totally fair to Chris. So if I can't take that same joke, I won't make it about Chris. I think the one time I might have overstepped that line, though, is with the Jennifer stuff, so I'm glad that it was pointed out. But I do have comments on that. One, it's specifically about Crisbo, the save state gamer, carrying a torch for Jennifer. This character that you're seeing on screen right now is pathetic. I'm not saying that Chris Bores is. Maybe he is, maybe he's not. That's not for me to say. But I have no reason to believe that he actually misses Jennifer. For all anyone knows, I think, unless I'm missing something, he broke up with her. I don't think anyone knows. It's all supposition, and it's potentially entertaining supposition, and it's great fodder for parodies. But I just saw it as a way to really make this character seem like a bit of a sad sack. To have this girl that presumably... Well, I don't know. Presumably she didn't care about him. There's really no reason to believe that she did, this character at least. But he really cared about her, and she's no longer in his life. And that leaves a notable impression on the way that he goes about his daily life, even the way he goes about these reviews, which really, again, should be the most joyous, exciting thing that he does with his day. So I really just wanted to use it specifically tailored to this character. Was the line blurred? Absolutely. That's my fault. How was the line blurred? Well, it's Jennifer, and I used a photograph of Jennifer. It was the same person. If I had created another Jennifer-like character, I think um, the division between my character Jennifer and the actual Jennifer would have been more clear. So I have to admit that I muddied the waters myself on that. I don't get frustrated by people who don't see that very clearly. I did that. That was poor planning on my part. But at the same time, I do wish it came across as a little more obvious for two reasons. One, because I'm actually writing this stuff. I'm writing and performing it, and if people like it, I would like to, I'd like them to give me credit for it, rather than just think I plucked it from life or from my own, you know, unbridled hatred toward Chris Boers that doesn't really exist. But two, it's really not fair to come down on Chris about things like that, especially when there's no reason to believe that's the case.